Hello and welcome to Wildfire Tribe podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Sean.
And my name is Kylie, and this is going to be a very interesting morning.
This is going to be a podcast that will change your life.
Yes,
The
I
topic
agree.
of today's podcast is light workers. Are you a light worker? Am I a light worker? Are you a light worker, Kylie?
Yes, I am.
What is a light worker?
A light worker. Well, a light worker is a term that is often used in spiritual communities to describe an individual who is believed to have a special mission. I love this, or purpose to bring light and love and healing to the world.
I am on a mission.
Yes. Mission is like a huge part of it. Like
Right.
light workers are thought to have spiritual mission or calling to help others awaken spiritually, to promote healing, and I love this, to raise the collective consciousness.
Okay, so where did that definition come from?
Well, I have compiled this from a number of different sources.
Okay. So is that means that not everybody is a light worker?
No, I don't think so. Although I think everybody probably has the potential to be a light worker, but I think there's probably people that you would categorize as being more light worker than others.
So during a recent interaction I had on a Zoom meeting where I was running a Zoom for a few different people getting together talking about the mysteries of God, that spiritual discussion that's never ending. It was one of those places where anybody could share and interact with each other. I actually spoke about a dream that I had about a year ago. I had a dream where I actually recall in the middle of the night being told by God, because I'd been inquiring of Him what it was that I actually did. He told me in my sleep in a dream that I am a light worker. And
I,
when I woke up, I remembered that He had told me that I was a light worker.
I love it. And what did you say to me?
I think I rolled over in my sleep and I thought, I better tell you or write it down, which I don't normally do. I don't write things down in the middle of the night like you should. So I thought I'll roll over and I'll just tell you, and that way, between the two of us, at least one of us should remember. And I rolled over and I said, Kylie, I'm a light worker. And you said, I know.
I know. It's so cool. It's so wild. I think I have a chapter in my book that talks about light workers as well, which is pretty wild.
Hang on, I think I just went off topic there because I was talking about how I shared that I was a light worker in a group with some other people. I did go off topic. And what happened was that one of the fellas in the group didn't like the fact that I was using new age kind of terminology,
Ah, yes.
and he never came back on. And that was, I guess you could say that was like a Christian type of group, a discussion around the mysteries of God, but most of the guys on that group would have referred to themselves as Christian men. And one of the guys, I think he was a bit like, I'm not really sure about this, Sean, and what it is that he's about, because he's using terminology that is not normally comfortable in a church environment.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that this is one of the things that gets in the way of our ability to be able to have no separation, to be able to come into this space where we can actually believe that God could love everybody and that we too have the ability to be able to love all people. And I think that's because we have this thing where we go, oh, no, that word is for those people. We can't actually use that word. What is actually the root definition or the original translation of some of these words that we use in certain areas that are framing up some kind of an explanation for us in these spiritual spaces, that all of a sudden when you use a certain word, it puts a wall up.
Well, if you just Google Lightworker, Kylie, just straight away, I just Googled and straight away the very top answer is a Lightworker is a person who serves other people and the planet. People from all walks of life could be Lightworkers, from nurses to life coaches. Lightworkers are rumoured to transform others and change their way of thinking. If you're sensitive and eager to help others, you might even be a Lightworker.
Definitely.
Well, I am, and I was told that I am by God himself.
So, some of the attributes light workers are believed to possess certain qualities such as empathy, compassion, intuition, and this deep sense of purpose. And we're often sensitive to energy. And there is also this space where we have intuitive abilities. So, those kind of telepathic abilities, those abilities to be able to read people and to be able to see more dimensions around a person or different things that are going on than you generally would see just in the three-dimensional reality.
Yes, I do. Okay, do I know about that? Yeah, I do. Like, I see in other dimensions. I see around other people. I see things beyond what I used to be able to see, as in the physical sense that I used to be able to see. I see more than that. I sense more than that around people. I sense what people are about. I think that I've always had that, but I feel like I've been practicing that and getting better at that. I wouldn't say that I necessarily am 100% accurate in knowing what it is that's going on in a person's life. So if you're a person that I interact with regularly, or that I see, or that I know, or I'm related to, and we come across each other regularly in life, don't fear that I'm reading your thoughts all of the time, because it is something that I believe that we're able to do. It's not necessarily something that I believe that we're able to do all of the time, and it's certainly not something that I believe that we're able to do and do use for any benefit outside of helping people.
Yeah, I love it. And I think that's one of the powerful things about taking on choosing to really be activated as a light worker is, if you're having that real sense, like a lot of people, they really have a deep empathy for people. They've got this place where they're really wanting to share their wisdom and share their knowledge and their spiritual insights on this journey, a little bit like what we do on the podcast, really, where we're really wanting to just be transparent about our journey, because we know that transparency and that place of vulnerability allows other people to go, oh wow, like that, I so get that, or that is so where we're at. And I think over the years we've really appreciated people that have just been vulnerable in those spaces, so that we're able to go deeper within ourselves a lot of the time, just to be able to unpack different things where we're moving into greater spaces of revelation, and we're wanting to create space within ourselves for more understanding, more mystery, more wonder. And sometimes it's like shining that light, like you do as a light worker, into these spaces to allow people to go, oh, wow, actually, there is room to grow. There's more things that I can take on board. I can just let go of some of this stuff that I don't need anymore, and we can rise together. It's that rising, that collective consciousness that brings us into this beautiful place where all of a sudden together we go, oh my gosh, we can breathe in this new atmosphere. We're in this new place. We're running, and it's beautiful. Because it is really beautiful being like in this place of light working. I love it. Look at you. You're just like whacked. I love it how you're able to be whacked, and you just look serious and like you've got it all together. But I'm not really like that. I can just look like Wee.
Well, people don't know what I look like, Kylie, because this is just a podcast at the moment that people are listening to. But also, what they don't know, Kylie, is that we're actually recording things, aren't we, on our screens these days? So, this podcast that you're listening to will actually be available visually as well as a video, or a combination of both. So, something that you can listen to and watch, or just listen to. So then you'll be able to see what Kylie's talking about when sometimes she asks me a question and I don't answer, is because I'm gazing off into the distance in a state of peace and calm and happiness. And it seems to me sometimes like a podcast that involves lots of talking really just interferes with that peace and calm and happiness.
Yeah. I think I'm going into that warm place again where I'm just like, I know you're talking and saying amazing and profound things, but I'm just like
People can
in a
join
different
us
planet.
in the future as well, can't they, Kylie? They can join us in our Zooms, I heard you talk about them earlier on something else we were doing.
Yes.
So if you're interested in actually seeing what it is that we look like and interacting with us personally, we can do that on camera as well. We'll talk about that later.
Yeah, it's so good. Gabby Bernstein, she says the world needs more light workers. Be a beacon of love, hope, and positivity in a world that sometimes feels dark. And I feel like that is what light workers bring often. They bring a different perspective to a conversation. They're those people that are looking at the positive side. They're the ones that are holding space for healing and just for conversation, for people to be able to just let things out and then just to be able to find this place of breath and to just breathe, which is really, really powerful. Marianne Williamson, she says, in a world full of chaos, light workers are the silent warriors of love, working tirelessly to bring healing and transformation to humanity.
Matthew 5, verses 14 to 16, you are the light of the world. A city that is set on a hill cannot be hidden. Nor do they light a lamp and put it under a basket, but on a lampstand, and it gives light to all who are in the house. Let your light so shine before men, that they may see your good works and glorify your Father in heaven. So that's a biblical reference for what we're talking about when it comes to light and being a light worker. If you're a person who believes that they are full and overflowing of the goodness of God, then there's really no option. I don't believe personally, even though we spoke about it earlier, that some are light workers and some may not be. I don't believe that you can possibly know the creator of the world and not have light shining from you.
Absolutely. I so agree.
And if that is the case, and that is true, and that is you, then all you have to do is know that that is you and go about your day knowing completely at all times that people can see in you a light of recognition of who you are, and that because of that light of the Creator being in you, that it changes the way that you go about your day, because you no longer have to walk around feeling like you're less than anybody else, that you're not worthy. You're a person of light, and you can choose whether or not you decide to put it in a lamp under a basket, like the Bible says, or have it on a lampstand so that all can see. It's up to you, really, isn't it, Kylie? I know that when we moved to the town that we're in now, and we've been here for 2 years, we came to town as people that didn't know anybody in the entire town. We didn't know a single person here when we moved here. And we moved from a much smaller town. And in that small town, everybody knew us. We had a prominent business in the town, and everybody knew our business. Even if they didn't, everybody knew of our business and knew our business, and we couldn't hide even if we chose to. But then when we moved to a much larger place, we actually chose to go into a place of quietness, of stillness, of a time of more intimacy with our Creator, where we restarted again, where we were renewed in the beginning again. So we're still the same people, but in a new place. And in that place, in the last 2 years of really just being in that quiet place, that quiet place with Him at all times, not actually having a profile, not having a business, not having a name tag on us, not having anybody recognize who we are or where we came from or what our job is or was or any of those things. It was like a time to start all over again, and starting all over again as people in a much bigger town where nobody knows us really just required over time for the light that is within us to shine from within us so that people could see us, because it certainly was not in our interest to go around telling everybody who we are and what we do, because we actually were not really doing anything business-wise or what some people would consider to be, a reason to be in a new town. We were really just in that place of quietness. And so everybody that we've met in the last couple of years since we've been in this town, we've met through that knowing of them that we have a light that shines from us and they want to know about it.
It's so true. And that has been so much of our walk, is that shining light. And it's been one of those crazy things where there's been times where we have been driving through places and people are staring like, what is that light shining from that car? Like, I can't see. This doesn't make any sense. So many different situations that we find ourselves in where we realize, oh my goodness, I think these people are actually witnessing that light that we're called to just be when we are just being our authentic selves. Eckhart Tolle, he says, as we awaken to our true selves, we realize that we are all light workers, here to shine our unique light and make the world a brighter place.
Now, we met a couple last week in a town that's not far from here, some people that we've known from our past, and as we stopped in their town and had coffee with them, I would like to think, and I'm quietly confident that in our interaction, which was only for probably about half an hour, that we departed company, all of us feeling better for having run into each other, and that's some of that light that we speak of, shining light into other people's lives, the people that you interact with.
It's so true. It's so true. And I think that is the beautiful part that we can be when we just get to that place of love, like where we allow ourselves to just love ourselves and to be loved by our Creator, to allow that love then to flow from within us. And with that love is light. Like that love and that light, it goes together. It's this beautiful, it's like an energy and a substance and a frequency and a goodness and a wonder and a joy. Like there's something really, really beautiful that's woven into the essence of light and love.
Now, recently, Kylie, even as recently as this afternoon when we were walking, I told you that my difficulty at the moment that I feel like God is processing with me and I with Him, my difficulty is that I have difficulty with Christian people.
Oh, yeah, you did mention that.
So
Yeah. And I think I said back to you, I said, well, it is difficult because we often find the more that we're not really necessarily spending a lot of time in traditional church circles, we're finding that is where a lot of the judgment comes from. That's where the condemnation comes from. That's where often people are putting expectations on one another about keeping up appearances, making sure your life looks good. Like a lot of those things that I think on the whole, we don't find a genuine vibe in that space.
yes, but saying that as well, and that is true, I definitely find myself in a place of uncomfortableness around people that I feel are judging our walk with God, that are not necessarily understanding why it is that you're not attending their building every Sunday. And I am definitely not in the business of being a person that says that that shouldn't be what you do. If you are comfortable in that environment and you feel drawn to that and that's good and healthy for you, absolutely keep on doing that. So it's not coming from that place, but what I feel like God is doing in me is bringing me to a point of understanding that, Sean, there's no separation between you and the rest of the world, and you and people in religious circles as well. So when I feel like I'm stepping into those places and I need to, put the blanket over the light that naturally shines out of me because I don't want to offend people or I don't want to be judged as being somebody that's doing something wrong, that's in fact a time where I also need to remember that there's no separation, there's nothing that I need to do or change. I just need to be myself and shine my light in those places as well. And perhaps people that are still in those places of relationship with their Creator, believing that they have to do something to get something good from Him, will slowly come to the realization that they too are sons and daughters of God, and that there is nothing that they need to do to seek His approval. Absolutely nothing. And that there is also a light in you as there is in me, and that there's no striving left for us to do to try and be better at being Christians or better in relationship with God, because everything is done. We all contain this light that is Him within us. And if we just are okay with who we are and love ourselves, knowing that God created us and loves us, there's nothing left for us to do or no fingers to point at each other as to who's got things right and who's got things wrong.
This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
Yeah, I love that. I didn't want to interrupt that, and I certainly don't want to interrupt the vibe behind it as well. That was smooth and cool and at peace, and I just get tired of my own existence of judging people and thinking that people are judging me. That there's this pointing the finger at each other when it may not even be going on at all. So I feel like for me, that's where I'm at currently with my walk with God. Is He's just saying to me in those little whispers, Sean, you can't really be going around judging the people in the church. You don't know everything it is that they're thinking. You think they think about you more than they actually do. There's all of those things that God's showing to me, and I'm hopeful, and I'm more than hopeful. I'm actually certain that in the next period of time that I'll be completely fine around all of those people again. I will be able to walk in and out of those environments shining my light, and also having that light return to me via the mirror of who they are, because they also love themselves and love God as well.
Yeah, I love it. And I feel the same too. Whilst ever I'm pointing the finger and saying, why are you people judging people so much, or being in that place of like, I feel so condemned by these people or whatever it happens to be, then there's still an element of that I'm also continuing to exercise in my life, where I just need to just chill and let it go and not be constantly thinking that somebody's thinking something about me, or that they're insinuating something in a comment, and I'm like twisting it in my mind and imagining that they're thinking something bad about me or something like that. So it is that constant place of where, and this is one of those things that I'm doing in my daily practice when I'm coming into that space of meditation. I'm allowing gratitude to just flow, not only over me, but just from within me. These things that I'm grateful grateful for this place of just stillness and just letting that stillness just resonate in every tiny little piece of my being, just so that I come into that place of peace and I'm not rattled by things that might happen. I'm not actually starting to go into that place where I'm thinking that I know what people are thinking, or that I'm judging people based on what I can see is the exterior of their lives, when I really don't have any idea what's going on inside a lot of the time, and we don't necessarily know unless we're so connected out of that place of stillness with our Creator that we begin to see out of that place from the multidimensional realms, which we're looking into the lives of people around us through the lens of love. And then we have the ability to be able to see deep into the heart of people and into their souls and even into their minds. But we're not coming out of a place of judgment and condemnation and trying to put shame on people and trying to use that in a way where we're manipulative and controlling, but we're actually coming out of that place of being able to shine light into the places that people feel like they desperately want to have freedom from, and to be able to, in that space, allow that river of love to flow from within us, because that is what opens the door, that light shining, that love flowing, that place that unlocks people's hearts in that space of transparency, and then that allows them to be captivated by the love of their Creator for the very essence of who they are. And I think that's what brings us into that place a lot of the time, isn't it? Is that we just struggle to feel that love.
Yeah, just as I've been listening to you talk, I was also remembering our conversation earlier today as we were walking about how there are a lot of people in our youth, in the time when we were growing up, in the environment that we grew up in, that did actually. I still remember the words, like when people got tattoos, that was not a good thing. When people, lived together and had children together but weren't married, that was not a good thing. There was in my upbringing that undertone of that is not biblical or Christian-like or acceptable in God's eyes, therefore it's not acceptable in my eyes. And so I've sort of grown up around that, and that's been a part of my belief structure that I've taken on, whether I was aware of it or not. But as I get older and as I get further along in my years of walking with the Creator of the world, I find that He's smoothing those things out of me. He's bringing them to my awareness. And then over time, if I allow it, those things are also removed from me. It's that refining fire that we speak of sometimes as well. But I also think it's like knowing that and knowing that that's going on inside of me, then I have an opportunity of walking back into any environment, including the church environment that I was alluding to growing up around, and being a light of change. So being an agent of change, a light worker in that environment where I actually don't have to say anything. I actually don't have to be saying, no, that is not right. People are allowed to be tattooed. No, that is not right. People are allowed to have children together when they're not married. I don't have to actually use words and get into the brawl with people over the right and wrongs of things. I can actually just be me and emit my light from within, and because I've allowed and walked out my existence with God, all of that stuff is done in me, and I can just move into other spaces and have that happen to other people without all the words.
Yeah, I love it. It's so, so true. Just makes me sing that little song again. This little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine. Like, it's so, so true. Because I think we can't win the war on the battlefield.
And we can't win the war by pointing the finger at each other and throwing words at each other and Bible verses, like actually having a disagreement with each other whilst throwing Bible verses at each other is not helping anybody move forward or progress at all. I think a lot of the time we'd be much better off just closing our mouths and being okay that somebody else has a point of view that's different to mine and just emitting light.
Yeah.
Just be a light emitter.
Yeah. And just laugh a little. Maybe just not be so serious.
And sing like you sing.
And just sing, exactly. And dance and just have fun.
Because when did we become the police? The police of
Exactly.
the world. We become the police of heaven and hell. Now, I don't believe that hell exists in the way that we were brought up to believe that exists for starters anyway. But when did the world decide that they're the police of where people go after they die, or what their behaviour should be in a church environment or a religious environment down on earth? Who decided who gets to be the police and who
Exactly.
gets to blow the whistle and flash the lights and arrest people and yell at people? Who decided who was right and who was wrong? Everything I read online, social media, when I go through those pages reading the discussions that Christians have with each other, they can't agree for a second. You know, there's always somebody who says, well, I'll tell you what, all you got to do is believe the gospel and then nothing else matters. Well, what's the gospel? Oh, well, the gospel's this. Oh, no, it's not. I don't think the gospel's that. It's just never ending. We cannot agree with each other for more than a second. We can't agree with each other for more than a sentence. So why don't we just accept that that is the case and be okay with not having to agree with each other?
I know. Exactly. And it's one of the most powerful breakthroughs that you can have in your life is when you finally just go, it's okay to think different. It's okay to be different. And I don't have to argue my point. I can just listen and love.
It's like in the creative flow, you know, in an art world, there's artworks behind us, there's paintings all around us. It's like if somebody is painting a picture, their very own picture, and you're over their shoulder saying, no, don't do that. No, make that line straighter, or that's not going to be acceptable. Like, our life is a creative flow. We get to choose, we get to feel, we get to experience life in a unique way, uniquely packaged up for each one of us, completely different to the person next to us. You and I, even as a married couple of nearly 30 years in a couple of days, have our own unique experience of life, even as a couple that have been together that long and are always together and always in, you know, touching each other and close to each other, as close as people can be. We still have a unique existence, and the best thing that we can do for each other is not be pointing at the other person saying, no, that's not how you should do things. No, you're not going to be happy if you keep doing things that way. No, don't do it like that. You won't go to heaven when you die. If you believe that, you have to believe what I tell you.
It's so true. And even for a long time, you didn't see the same as me when it came to God or relationship with God. And every time I would, in my strength, try to change that, it would probably put a wedge between us at that time. And I just remember having this conversation with God about it one day. And he was just saying, like, why are you so worried? Why don't you just trust me with him? Like, it's okay. Like, he's so loved. Like, why don't you just love him exactly where he is? Why is there always this expectation you have on yourself to see him changed? And I think a lot of that expectation came out of that kind of belief system that I had from growing up and also from being in different churches where I felt like I wasn't good enough, or that because my husband didn't want to come to church, or he wasn't, as they would term it, saved. So I think I went through a lot of time there where I was feeling like I wanted you to have that moment where where everything would change and then our life would be better. But I think that our life became better when I just let go and stopped putting that expectation on you and just had fun. Like, we just
And then what happened, Kylie? And then I came into my own awareness of the creator of the world and his desire to have relationship with me on his own. The work was done between him and me and him. And I think partially that's what brings me to a place in my thinking regularly as well around the evangelism discussion. I do have issues around evangelism. I've been around it. I've been used as a tool for evangelism. I've been propped forward and pushed forward in the street and on stages to bring people into the saved status and tell people the good news and that kind of thing. And when I see it advertised and I see, advertisements like bring people to church, bring your unsaved friends, invite them to this conference. Here's a free ticket for the pre-saved, they're starting to call them now. Have you noticed that?
No, I haven't seen
The
that.
pre-saved. So obviously there's a clever little twist of language with the intention of bringing somebody into a saved status. Now the unsaved people of the world are referred to in hip Christian groups as pre-saved. And this is this side of evangelism that I battle with. I really struggle with it, maybe because of my own unique existence and my own unique discovery of God myself in exactly what you were talking about, where you just wanted that so badly for me that you hounded me like a Jehovah's Witness in the bed next to me, trying to get me saved, always referring to me as Sean, the pre-saved. And it just didn't work, and it just doesn't always work, and there's not a formula because God is not a God of formulas. I know that that's weird. I know that God is a God of patterns and routines. Perhaps you could go that far. Perhaps there are things that happen in the world that are similar over and over in patterns, but that doesn't mean he's a God of formulas. Like he's a unique creator who created everybody uniquely. So the answer for everybody in the street is not to bombard them with your leaflets telling them how, and I love how evangelism on the streets always turns into an argument. How if you're not saved in a moment or you don't accept the invitation to a church, then you're frowned upon as somebody that might be saved later, or even worse, is just destined to go to hell. Because that's all you need to bring somebody into the kingdom of love, and the kingdom of God is the threat that if you don't, that you'll end up in a fiery pit of destruction for the rest of eternity.
And what about this narrative that we've seen recently when there's been some of these leaders in churches that have come into ill repute, like they've been found to be having long-term affairs or whatever it happens to be, all kinds of different stuff.
What? In a church?
No. As all of these discoveries have been made, then there has been this narrative or this conversation around, well, were they really saved?
Oh, yeah. Well, they would only be having sex with each other, not being married or being married to other partners if they weren't saved, or if they'd backslidden out of savedness into unsavedness.
So wouldn't it just be better if we were all in together, boys? Like we're all just in his love. We're just at different stages of discovering what already is. We don't have to be trying to get people on our team or get people saved, as you say. Then we don't need to worry if they're making wrong choices or they're backsliding or if they're, doing any of these things, that all of these terminologies for wherever a religion gauges you are on the scale between heaven and hell, or saved and unsaved, or righteous and unrighteous. Like if we just adopt this space of wonder and joy and peace and love and shine our lights in this space as light workers, because it's that place when we're shining our lights where people can be healed and where they can be set free. Because really, this whole conversation about being saved and unsaved, really at the very base of it, all it is an identity issue. It's just that people don't know who they already are.
Thank you so much for joining us today on Wildfire Tribe Podcast. Obviously, you've found the podcast. Share it amongst your friends. Share it by sending it to them. You know that you can do that by pressing on the screen that you're listening to this podcast on. There's a little square with an arrow on top of it at the top of the screen. You can press that and you can send it even as a text to a friend, or share it on social media, share it on Facebook, Instagram, or any of those places, so that more and more people can listen to the conversations, the real conversations about mystical things, so that you too can encourage your friends and your family to have those conversations with each other, those conversations about light workers and light emitters. And just know that tomorrow when you go to your cafe, when you go to your school or your job, and whatever it is that you're doing tomorrow and in the next week, that you are indeed a carrier of light. And you can walk into a cafe or any of those environments and you can just not say anything. You can smile and emit light out of your teeth. You can emit light out of your eyes, your teeth, your skin, your ears. You can just emit light just by entering into a place and know that you are.
It's so true. You know, when I was thinking about light workers, I was thinking surely there were some of these ancient mystics were light workers.
Come on, where are they? Who are they?
So I put together a list of 5 of them and just a few little bits and pieces about them because I thought, yeah, come on, this is pretty cool. So Saint Francis of Assisi is known for his deep love of nature, his humility and devotion to serving the poor. Saint Francis is considered one of the most beloved figures in Christian history. His life exemplified qualities associated with light workers such as compassion, selflessness, and a profound connection to the divine. I love that. That profound,
Connection to the divine.
To the divine.
He doesn't sound like he had many distractions.
No. Saint Teresa of Avila, she was a Spanish mystic and a Carmelite nun. Saint Teresa is renowned for her mystical writings and experiences of divine union. She dedicated her life to prayer, contemplation, and the pursuit of spiritual perfection, inspiring others to deepen their relationship with God. I would definitely say she is a light worker.
So there's a couple there that you just mentioned that sounded like all they did was just hang out with God all the time.
Well, I think that's what makes the light really shine, is when you're really just in that place where your awareness is always switched on. And I think that's all it is that sometimes we just become overwhelmed and maybe overly focused on things that aren't that river of life that's flowing from within us, that our conscious reality of what already is really flicked. Like that switch is flicked, and because sometimes we can just go in and out of that pretty easily, can't we, babe? Like sometimes we'll be walking up the street and then we'll just go, whoa, oh my gosh, like I feel so drunk. I feel really, really smashed right now. I feel like it's just like it's always there, but it's sometimes and what it is just knowing that you're in the very depths
Just
of
an
the
awareness.
fullness of him.
It's not a doing. It's not a period of saved and unsaved or right and wrong or good and evil or any of those things. It's just an awareness. Sometimes it's just a time to be able to bring yourself, a bit of space in time, like I said, about these mystics that seem like they had all this time to hang out with God. Sometimes it's just an awareness in the busyness of your day that He's in you. It's just a pause. It's just, the old cigarette break that you used to have in a pub environment. Instead of that, it's just devote that amount of time to just pausing and just remembering that He's in you at all times and that He never leaves you. It's that awareness of Him that just brings about that contentedness and that peace and that ability to admit his light.
Yeah, it's so true. Saint Catherine of Siena, she was a Dominican Mystic and theologian St. Catherine of Siena is remembered for her intense prayer life, her mystical experiences, and her efforts to bring about peace and unity within the church. She was known for her fearless advocacy for justice and her unwavering commitment to serving others. Once again, one of these shining light people. And St. John of the Cross, a Spanish mystic and a Carmelite friar. St. John of the Cross is best known for his writings on the spiritual journey and the dark night of the soul. His profound insights into the nature of divine love and spiritual purification continue to inspire seekers of all faiths.
If you're a creative type, if you're an artist, a singer, a poet, any type of creative at all, go to our website wildfiretribe.life and see some of the stuff that we're involved in as well. We love championing people that are creative as well. We say that you're created to be here by a creator who created you to create. So if you're wanting to interact with us at all, wildfiretribe.life is our website where you can get in touch with what it is that we're up to. We thank you for listening to the podcast. We thank you for your support of the podcast and all that we do via purchasing of our artworks, our t-shirts, our coffee mugs, those sorts of things, and our Patreon account as well. We thank you for supporting us that way.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we really do love having you guys on board, and we're doing some live events too, live Zoom events over the next few months. And so if you're wanting to maybe connect with us on live Zoom, that would be amazing. You can jump onto our Patreon page, or you can find all the details, as Sean said, at the website wildfiretribe.life.
Okay, so is there something that you wanted to finish with, Lightworker Kylie?
Well, I guess just off that, we do have a podcast from a number of months ago called The Dark Night of the Soul. And speaking about that Dark Night of the Soul, when it came to John of the Cross, who I just mentioned before, that term originates from the writings of the Spanish mystic. It refers to a profound spiritual experience that is categorized by feelings of spiritual desolation, emptiness, and a sense of separation from God. And it's this place that I feel like is the very opposite to that feeling that you have when you come into the fullness of who we are as sons and daughters of God. And that place of just recognizing that we were created, like that verse that you shared at the beginning.
Matthew 5 verses 14 to 16.
Yeah, that's it. You're the light of the world. A town built on a hill cannot be hidden. Neither do people light a lamp and put it under a bowl. Instead, they put it on a stand, and it gives light to everyone in the house. And in the same way, let your light shine before others. I think because sometimes we have that space where we dull ourselves down, you know? Like we do cover our uniqueness, or we don't want to step into our authenticity, and we're afraid of who we actually really are.
Yeah, well, I was just thinking as we come to the time when we're winding it up, it was just coming to my mind that being a light worker is not about something that you do. It's an awareness of who you are. So it doesn't matter whether you're a musician, a florist, a farmer, a school teacher. It doesn't matter about what it is that you do or trying to be a light worker. The actual ability to be a light worker just comes from knowing who you are. There's nothing for you to do apart from knowing who you are. And once you know who you are, then you're an emitter of light.
It's so true. So if you're going through one of those periods of time at the moment that is categorized by that experience of the dark night of the soul, you're feeling like, who am I? You're feeling like you've come into this place where you're so separate from everything you knew, the God that you knew, the people that you knew, different, even from your own self. You can feel separate from the person that you felt like you were, and now you don't know who you are. But we just really want to encourage you right where you are, that you are the fullness of light and life, that you have within you beauty and wonder and joy. You have within you a deep wellspring that can flow out and water. Just let it water your own garden first. Just nurture that place of just being able to sit with the Father, to be able to be in his presence, whatever you're doing, wherever you are. You don't even need to find a quiet place to do this. You can actually just have that knowing that that is happening every single moment of your life. And if you do have quite a time, sometimes that can be a place where it can just bubble up, and just visiting that place and then allowing that to flow out into the rest of your life, where you start to come into that place of fullness, of just going, wow, this little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
Bye.
Have a wonderful, 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 wonderful day. Okay, go shine your light, people. We love you. Bye.